Hello, my name's Paul McCarthy, and this is episode 6 of Facilities First, sponsored by Hero Facility Services. Today, I have the pleasure of having Sarah Doherty of Kava with me. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Paul. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
So, I've noticed something about you lately, and I'm starting to see a little trend with facility managers. There seems to be a little more LinkedIn movement with facility managers. It seems like they used to be lurkers, but now they're posting a lot.
Lurkers.
Tell me, why do you think facility managers are using LinkedIn more?
I think it has something to do with more of like recognition and connection. I think a few years ago as an FM, we were kind of also behind the scenes workers, right? Or lurkers, as you just said. And today there's a stronger awareness that facilities plays a direct role in brand perception, employee and guest experience, and a long-term financial health.
Yeah.
And it just gives us an opportunity to share that impact, learn from peers, and build a sense of community across that. I think previously, more and more, I think we hear this term siloed, right, into different portions of the business. And I think that with LinkedIn, we're giving the opportunity to kind of break down those silos.
It's interesting because one of the reasons why I started Facilities First is because nobody sees a facility manager that's dealing with crushed pipes, that's dealing with leaks, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to put the spotlight on the guys and girls that are really truly behind the scenes, stopping that little crayon store closed written on the glass and
Yeah.
put up, because there's nothing more frustrating than that. Especially with me and tacos. I crave tacos and I see that little crayon sign. I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just as much for us, right? It's hitting our, like I said, it's hitting our employees, it's hitting our guest experience. It's having like unhappy kids that are no longer able to go into the restaurant that they wanted to. It's a wide variety of all of it, right? And ensuring that we're also not impacting that financial health of the business as well.
So on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
have you what would you say has been the most beneficial or your biggest win that you've seen off LinkedIn?
I would say the relationships that I've started to build. I mean, even like with yourself, right? There's just been some really true partnerships, both on a vendor and on other restaurateurs. It's the opportunity that digital networking is really relationship building that translates to real business value. I have had the opportunity over the past, especially probably 6 months of really like honing on trying to use LinkedIn as much as possible to just really build some really great relationships for sure.
And isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah.
Is relationships.
Yeah, that's
And
what our business is.
it really
People.
is. And
Yeah.
it's in order for a facility manager to trust somebody like me with a third party facility company, there
Yeah.
has to be a relationship. There
Mhm.
has to be that mutual trust factor that when I call Paul, he's going to take care of me. He's going to shoot me straight.
Right.
Now, I thought it was super cool on one of my posts the other day. Somebody posted, she's one of the rising stars in the facility world.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I agree with that.
Thank
We're
you.
going to jump into facilities now, and I won't spend too much time on. I was going to get into AI, but if I start talking AI, it's going to be over. So,
We'll
but
be on that for a really long time.
it's yeah, I have my Chat GPT name, but that's beside the point. So, what's one misconception that people outside facilities have about what you do as a facility manager?
Ooh, a misconception of what I do. I think it's kind of more based on that we are only reactionary, right? We only do reactionary work, which then equates to we're just constantly putting out fires. And keep in mind, we are for the most part putting out a lot of fires. But I think there's also a huge portion of our job that people don't see on a daily basis of doing capital projects, working on maintenance, just kind of all of the things that people don't see that we do behind the scenes, and just basic relationship building with our operators, to ensure that they trust us that we're going to get the job done.
And there's probably a lot of education for your operators
Yes.
to understand. My background's in the restaurant industry,
Yeah.
and so I tell people, when I talk to restaurants, is I've sat there. I know what it's like on a Friday night when your fryer goes down and you got ticket times going 20 minutes.
100%.
You need somebody that's going to be there fast. And
Hmm.
a lot of the store managers, they don't understand it. And so, as a facility manager, the better education they have, it must make your life a lot easier.
100%. So I try to spend a lot of time in the restaurants at both our punch walks and our turnovers with the team members, and managers, going over our CMMS platform, going over where models and serial numbers are located, different tips and tricks to try to make their job a little bit easier so that we can try to not send out vendors if and or GCs if not necessary. Um, and then I also travel to some portions of my market as well to do the same thing. And I think it's super impactful, right? That one-on-one training opportunities to just get to know them, that I'm a real person too. And I'm not just there to like light them up, right? Like my goal is to teach them and train them, because I was an operator as well. And know for them to know that I've been in their shoes. I know it stinks when stuff is down. I'm working as quickly and as appropriately as fast, and also trying to keep costs down while doing it. So yeah.
And that's one of the many hats you wear. You're not only an educator, you're a firefighter, you're a accountant to make sure that we're not overspending here, and you've got your budgets and you've got to look at all that. And that's one of the things I don't think people understand about facility managers is the multitude of hats that you guys wear.
I
And
agree.
it's not easy, I can tell you that.
Right.
So we're gonna play a little fun game. If
Okay.
I shadowed you for a week, what would surprise me most about your role?
If you shadowed me for a week, I think for me personally, I think you'd be surprised how people focused I am. So my relationships with not only my vendors but my operators is the most important portion of who I am. Obviously, it's fast moving. We are worried about equipment. We're worried about downtime. We're worried about all of those things. But that I am most um, built most on my people focus and the way my relationships are with my vendors and my team in the field. Um, I think that it's not something that every facilities manager brings to their role, and I think it's one thing that I find that sets me apart, is that I try to just really get to know my vendors personally and my team, so that then when we are going through something together, we it's a great relationship. I ask about kids, or family, or pets, or whatever the case may be, or how their vacation was. I don't want it to just be about just the solution of what the problems are, because I think it's important to get to know them more personally.
And and I know from my side, it's a lot easier for me to call you and say, "Listen, Sarah, my tech, he got caught up. He's going to be 2 hours late. I'm trying everything I can."
Yeah.
And if you're, because there are some facility managers that are like very just, I'm a facility manager, you just handle my stuff.
Right.
But if I call you with that, and you know that, Paul has ADHD and squirrel syndrome, you're going to laugh at me and say, "Okay, calm down, Paul. It's okay. They'll get there. I'm good."
Yeah.
Because I think when you build those relationships, there's a lot more grace,
Hmm.
and it's not to the point of where you forgive them for just blatant things, but sometimes in business we get upset about things that we really can't control, and
Right.
understanding that we don't always have control of things, especially being a third party for
Right.
us.
Right.
So in an industry where the only time people notice you is when it breaks, how do you keep morale up in the stores?
I think trying to be one step ahead, right? So kind of proactively ensuring that you're communicating. I think, like reaching out to an area leader. This happened on the other day. I was calling an area leader and he was in the midst of texting me about the same issue, but I had called him first before he could even send the text message. And so just ensuring that, like, they know that behind the scenes you're trying to do everything you can to keep the business going. And I think it's kind of celebrating those like small wins, right? Like, I just previously before this had a manager. We had spoken this morning. She had talked about some issues she was having with her HVAC. And then she now has called me this like right before this and was like, hey, the tech was on site. She kind of proactively also gave me information as well. And so just kind of those little wins, and then just trying to be one step ahead of them so that they know that you're trying to take care of the business.
And that's one of the things that I try to coach and teach our team is there's a difference between updates and answers. An update an update might be a text, Sarah, I don't have any news yet. Just want to let you know you're still on my radar.
Yeah.
That makes
Totally.
people feel seen.
Hmm.
Rather, because the last thing I want is you reaching out going, "Can I get an update on this?"
Right.
Those make me cry,
Right.
literally.
Curl into a ball, cry situation.
Exactly. I mean, fetal, safe space and everything. So, do you see facilities more as a cost center or a driver of the value for Kava?
I would say it is absolutely a driver of value. Ensuring that there's, a facilities program that protects our revenue, right? Supports our guest experience, and we have the capability of reducing long-term costs through smart planning. We ensure that we are a driver of value. I think a lot of the time, if we're not running business effectively, by either, and this isn't us specifically, but in general as a business, cutting preventative maintenance, things of that nature. Um, we aren't setting ourselves up for success if we're not being a
Yeah.
driver of the business.
And I think it was Herb Kelleher from Southwest who said it. As long as I have happy employees and happy customers, I'm going to have a happy board.
Hmm.
And that's where I think a lot of times we lose focus in the numbers
Right.
and we forget about the people
Well, and I think
because
that's kind of one thing, right? Like I always tell our team, like even our facilities team, our internal customers are the most important, right? So our employees, our managers, our area leaders, etc. Because if those internal customers are taken care of, it is a guarantee that they are going to take care of those customers that walk through the door.
that's true.
Um, if we have unhappy people that have broken equipment or whatever the case may be, naturally they're going to have difficulty being um, great to our guests or customers, right? Because they don't have the things to keep them successful. If they have a roof leak, or their pita press isn't working, or whatever the case may be, they're not gonna, not that they're not gonna want to, but it's gonna be harder to have that drive to really want to have a great guest experience for them.
And I think that's partly human nature is we tend to see the negative in most things.
Yeah.
And so, if that pita press is down,
Hmm.
that poor guy that's having to go do it on the backup, and
Hmm.
he's having to walk back and forth. And if the manager's showing a bad mood, so to speak, it
Hmm.
can dictate the whole shift, which translates to your guests that are walking in the door.
A hundred
And
percent.
and if you came from operations, as the head of the ship, your mood can make or break the whole shift.
1,000%. Yeah, you are the mood of the entire the restaurant. A
Yeah.
hundred percent. Yeah.
So, what metrics or wins do you use to show leadership for the impact of your work?
I would say, like I discussed a little bit, I think preventative maintenance results. One of the things that I really try to focus on is also cost avoidance. So if I can reach out to the restaurant and say, "Hey, bring me over to your fryer. Let's FaceTime and look through this." And see if let's say the gas hose isn't on correctly, or they turned off the gas last night and, the team didn't look at it this morning. And then just ensuring that I focus on uptime. Let it anything to avoid downtime and disruption to business, I think is the key. Because we communicate through our systems within Kava if there's a restaurant closure for whatever reason it is. And I think if you're able to make it happen by having great partnerships with your vendors and be like, hey, I need you to leave wherever you are, I need you to come. This is a 911 for this location. Please send out X person as quickly as possible. That would be great. I think just that downtime is huge,
Yeah.
really huge.
And it goes back once again to those relationships, because
Totally.
if you don't have that person that you can call, and I know that in the facilities world that a lot of companies will flip facility services companies, and so then they have to build a new relationship again, and so it puts stress on everybody.
Hmm.
And so sometimes you have to look at the long term. So speaking of long term, how do you balance the quick fixes versus long-term investments?
I feel as if it's important to obviously take care of like immediate issues, right? So the business can operate. But also, like I talked a little bit to you through text about having a location that has a collapsed line. We also need to evaluate the root cause of it and plan so that there's a long-term solution so it doesn't that repeat problem doesn't have happen. And the same thing with HVAC, anything within your restaurant, ensuring that you're really doing your homework in regards to repeated issues to ensure that you're taking care of the business. I think is huge. I mean, obviously, quick fixes occasionally have to happen so that you can keep going. And then if you need to perform overnight work or whatever, so be it. But just kind of doing your homework, I think is key.
I had a gentleman that I was talking to about preventive maintenance on his
Hmm.
HVAC, and he was one of those gentlemen we talked about that was very straight, and he said, "I'm not going to spend the money on that." And I said, "Do you realize you can probably extend the life of that unit 30%, and
Hmm.
that capital cost is won't hit you for, say, it's 3 more years?" And
Right.
he's like, "Not a believer." I said, "Okay, to each his own." So this is maybe where we get to talk about AI.
Okay.
So what changes do you see coming in facilities over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that increasingly we will see organizations be more data driven, right? Sustainability, and then as you said, technology will be at kind of the forefront across different organizations, right? We've talked a lot about AI, and you talked about ChatGPT. There's Microsoft Copilot, right? There's all these different options of things that you can use, which will just continue to, I think, elevate business, right? We can learn a lot from those tools if used correctly. Um, and by being data driven, I think that will also continue to elevate us as organization as well, which we are very analytical, we're very data driven, because facilities will continue to shift from being reactive, right, to being a strategic business driver. So I think one of the things that we are currently shifting to, and have been, is that yes, we will have to be reactionary, but like if we're doing preventative maintenance and we're pulling all the facts that we need, that then we'll be a huge positive within the organization with our strategy.
Yes. And then one of the great things about technology that I
Mhm.
don't think people really look at, because everybody's afraid AI is going to take our job and they're going to do this. All AI is a tool.
Right.
It's never going to be able to replicate the relationships that you build.
Totally.
And that's, that's what I always tell people, because they're like, well, are you worried about AI taking your job? I'm like,
You're right.
well, first of all, AI is not as squirrely as me, but so speaking of technology,
Yeah.
we've come a long way.
Mhm.
One of the cool things about, I'd say cool, one of the only blessings I think out of COVID is something like this is a lot more acceptable, and
Mhm.
it's how a lot of meetings are handled now. So do
Right.
you think the technology is making your job easier or more complicated?
I think it's making the job easier because you are gaining more visibility. There's efficiencies. And I think in regards to our job, it gives us the opportunity for like better forecasting, things of that nature. I would say the only thing, and this is me talking out of both sides of my mouth, but is that I want us to continue to obviously adapt, right? But I don't want us to ever lose that people focus, like you brought up, because like I said, that's like my bread and butter, and so I want to ensure that I like keep that going, but also I know that those tools will just continue to help me, be more efficient. And I don't know, just continue to be better at my job to gain some more accuracy potentially. It's great to be able to pull models and serial numbers and, quickly and efficiently and things of that nature. So yeah,
And it's going to give you more time to spend with your people and build your relationships.
100%. Yeah.
And that's how you have to look at it. Okay, I'm going to let you play Harry Potter right now.
Okay. Ready.
Handing you a magic wand. What is one facility's headache that you have? If you could wave that wand and fix it forever, what would that be?
Roof leaks. Roof leaks, hands down. I think, the thing with them is they're disruptive to business. They're sometimes difficult to find where they're coming from, right? If it's HVAC or if it's because it rained or, there's a condensation pipe that broke, like whatever the case may be. They're just disruptive to business. And if I could never have to deal with another roof leak, especially with overseeing Florida specifically and, hurricane season and things of that nature, it can be really challenging and affect the business pretty greatly.
Yeah. Did you see what did you see what Peyton put?
Yeah, that was a fast
That
answer.
was a fast answer. I'm taking that magic
And
wand back from you.
yeah.
I live in Florida. We need rain.
Yeah, I know.
So we kind of talked about, the where we're going in facilities,
Yeah.
but if let's okay, I'm going to shift it. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Let's go into leadership and mentors.
Sure.
Because I was going to stick on something, but then I beat a dead horse, and I don't beat dead horses unless you're married to me, and that's my wife. She puts up with me. So, who's a mentor or maybe a leader that has shaped you and how you see facilities?
So I definitely have a few mentors that have definitely shaped me into facilities. I the one woman in facilities that or there's two women in facilities that made me interested in it. And that would be Noelle Faye and Jessica Kinnaman. They both were facilities managers with me previously at when I was an operator, and I just always really looked up to them in their knowledge and their they were women in facilities, and that's pretty badass, pardon my language, but that was
Yeah,
pretty cool to see. And then Dale Moore was my boss here at Kava when I first came over, and he was a vendor previously, and he was a facilities manager, and now is an owner of his own business. And he just had a way with people that I had never particularly seen before, that he just connected to people really well and could um, get on their level no matter if they were a team member or a regional or, whatever the case may be. He just had a way and knew a lot, right? And so I would say those three people were super impactful. And the last one would be Jeremy Weber. He was my boss here at Kava, and he just had a very similar squirrel mentality in regards to when we were in a space. He'd be like on the roof, he'd be under a piece of equipment, he would be all over the place. But I also learned a ton from him of the importance of, going to all aspects of the restaurant and ensuring that, you look up, you look down, you look under, you ensure that you look at all portions of the restaurant to um, make sure that it's operating appropriately.
yeah.
So,
Every
yeah,
nook and cranny. I mean, because there's possibility that something in that nook and cranny can break.
100%. Yeah.
So, if somebody came up to you and said, "Sarah,
Hmm.
I want to get in facilities,"
Hmm.
what advice would you give them?
I would tell them to stay curious, um, to build relationships, and to learn every part of the business. I think that the more you understand of the bigger picture, the more effective you'll be within facilities. Um, I think that sometimes the issue that people have within facilities is that they get too narrow minded of just fixing the issue at hand and don't take the opportunity to learn every part of the business, from the analytics to the budgeting to, you don't have to know every piece of equipment to be successful in facilities. You need to know who to call and to have some things in your back pocket that help you become effective. But yeah, just staying curious and building relationships, I think is huge.
So, when we throw your retirement party and we have the big old cake
Yeah.
and you're up there to give a speech, how do you
Hmm.
want to be remembered in facility management?
I want to be remembered from about the strong relationships that I've built.
That's awesome.
Sincerely, that's what I want to be known for, is that I I am strategic and that I continue to just build relationships and partnerships along my way.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And this has kind of become my signature last question. And I love it. And I heard it about 3 months ago. So I immediately incorporate it into the last one. So
Yeah.
what is one question I didn't know to ask you that I should have.
Ooh. How do you measure the guest experience impact of facilities?
And the answer would be,
I don't have the answer.
well, we'll have to discuss that and we'll figure it out.
We'll have to do a part two. I don't
Exactly.
know. I don't know how you would specifically measure it, but I think that at the end of the day, it's the thing that we constantly go back to, right? Like
Yeah.
what the guest experience is, no matter, like I said, if it's an internal guest or an external. So the people that are giving to the customers and or the people that are walking through our doors, it all goes back to them.
Yeah.
And without either of them, none of us really exist. So
It's truly a trickle down. I mean,
yeah,
and it starts facility managers, area directors, directors of operations, and it really trickles down. And you can see when you walk in restaurants the culture that's created, and
mhm,
some of them are very vibrant. Some of them you can tell need work, but ultimately it's that guest that walks away smiling,
right,
and honestly, they don't know that you're keeping the lights on. And
right,
so that's why I wanted to do this show. And I appreciate you coming on, taking
yeah.
your time out of Friday
Yes, of
and
course.
joining me. And I'd like to have you back next year sometime. I'll see you at probably RIFMA, and
Yes.
we'll talk between then. But
Yeah.
thanks a lot for joining me, and have a blessed day.
Thank
And
you.
we will talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks so
Bye,
much.
everyone.
She left.